So we've got Pete Hegseth, or as I like to call him, American Doll, at the Department of War.
Okay, so he
overseeing
has
warrior culture.
Yes, what he has, and he has. It is. I shouldn't be laughing here because this is horrible. But so he is bombing these small boats, which are said to be involved in drug trafficking. They may or may not be. He has killed so far, I think, 80 people.
Correct.
These are drone flights, and they just blow them out of the water. These small boats. But then the Washington Post had a piece in which Pete Hegseth has purportedly said, oh, we don't want anyone left alive. So they bombed the boat, and then the few people left who were hanging onto the wreckage, they go back and they kill them. Now, that is patently a war crime.
Right.
But
which Republicans are acknowledging too,
yes,
right?
But
which is interesting.
Exactly, because the other thing about virtually everyone in Washington, Republicans or Democrats, who very clearly understand. I mean, you're not going to find anyone who in their in the privacy of their wide circle of immediate friends is not going to say Pete Hegseth is a moron. I mean, Pete Hegseth is a joke.
The former Saturday co-host of a Fox TV show.
Yeah, there is nobody. I mean, this is a man who has no support within Washington, D.C., within the Republican Party. I mean, he has, or his support is the support of one, which is Donald Trump.
Which appears to be wavering slightly. I mean, Donald Trump is suddenly distancing himself from
maybe. I mean, I always find that actually when somebody is one of his people is up against it, that's actually a way to keep your job, because he doubles down, because there is his not only his instinct, but his policy is to do exactly the opposite of what he is being forced to do.
Except that I think this time might be a little bit different, because Hegseth is being, the Armed Services Committee, the House Armed Services Committee, is setting up a report or an investigation into this, and Trump ominously said that he would not have done this. That the first shot was fine.
And
that it was very lethal,
and it's all reasonable. So I mean, let's see if he doubles down on this, because otherwise, Pete Hegseth is finished, is toast, ought to be.
All right, I've got the exact quote here. Trump says, "I would not have wanted that. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine." To me, that's Trump distancing himself because he knows there's potential real trouble here. I mean, this is also.
We'll see. I mean,
Republicans.
That's a more reasonable Donald Trump than I am acquainted with.
Well, but Trump his instinct is always to save his skin, so he doesn't want to be blamed for this, right?
But that's a misunderstanding. The way he saves his skin is to double down on anybody who is attacking him at any point, and it's very hard to interpret an attack on Pete Hegseth as not being an attack on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the person who put this absolute, complete, incompetent moron without any experience whatsoever into this job. You're not going to be able to hang that on anybody else.
Well, except that Donald Trump's only instinct is self-protection. And if this gets to the point where we've now got Republicans emboldened, I think, by the Thomas Massie and the women that came out in support of releasing the Epstein files, you've now got Republicans coming out and saying, we need to look into this. This could be a war crime.
It's not a question. If Donald Trump has to decide between himself and anyone else, he obviously decides. But I'm saying this whole structure of protection, of the way he defends himself, of this illusion of indomitability is not giving in ever. Never say you're wrong. Never apologize. That is the entire Donald Trump strategy. So yes, he could be. It is possible, as with these Epstein files, he could be forced into a corner, and that would be yet more evidence that of the weakening in his Republican Party base, and that's the interesting trend, and I guess we'll see if that happens.
Well, and I think there's more signaling coming out today. In the New York Post, the columnist Miranda Devine has a piece on Kash Patel. Kash Patel, we know, has come under withering criticisms. Donald Trump has stuck with him. But this seems to be very much a piece aimed at Trump. It's in the print edition of the New York Post, which we know he loves to read. And it's really saying that Kash Patel is also utterly incompetent.
Well, but look at totally, and I want to get to that, but I just want to keep in mind the broader narrative here, which is that never before in the history of the American presidency have there been so many inexperienced people. This is nice. They're not just inexperienced; they're complete fools put into the highest ranking jobs in government. And obviously Pete Hegseth is one of these people. It's like, oh my God, in what world could that have happened? And then followed by Kash Patel, even greater, in what world could that have happened? So we are seeing potentially this unraveling here. And potentially a reinvention of this narrative. So the narrative was before he can appoint anybody he wants because he's Donald Trump, because we can no longer apply the reason of the rules of government or the reason underlying government to Donald Trump, because he has his own, he sees something that nobody else sees. I mean, this has been basically the Republican point of view. This might look like cockamamie stuff, but nevertheless, it's Donald Trump, and somehow he pulls it off. Okay, I think maybe we're seeing the opposite of that now. We're seeing, oh my God, from Republicans, this is these people truly are not only out of their depth, but fools at a level that nobody can justify.
Record-breaking fools,
yes.
Right? And there was a very good interview in The Economist with John Bolton, where he said, when asked, or when it was pointed out to him that everybody in Washington is frightened, he said, yes, they are. And, what you have to remember is Donald Trump is not Julius Caesar. And the only way to deal with the intimidation is to stand up to it, which is what he's done. Of course, he's now been indicted. And so he's going through that whole process.
But this is not. I mean, the flaw. I mean, it's perfectly true. The flaw with that is that is really about one person standing up. And it's Washington, D.C. One person doesn't stand up, or if they do, they get indicted. And what you need is the party itself to stand up. So somewhere in the engine room of a party's self-interest and consciousness has to arise a consensus that says this can't go on anymore. Right. And I don't yet see that, but it maybe it's there.
It feels like there are the green shoots of that. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning. You've got the unanimous vote, bar one, to release the Epstein files, and now you've got several Republicans coming out and questioning Pete Hegseth and saying we need an inquiry into this on both the Senate Armed Services Committee and the House.
Absolutely. I mean, it's there. Let's see if it lasts for more than a week, although there's a couple of others, too.
But what's going to hasten it, I think, is the fact that today, we're recording this on a Monday, is the day that that people enroll for Obamacare again, and they see what their healthcare premiums have gone up to.
Listen, I mean, it may be we are at that, and we've discussed this before, that we're at that inflection point, and right. Things are, because of lame duck status, because of this well of incompetence that is now bubbling up, that the next 3 years are going to be catastrophic for Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean,
and
we'll see.
And the off-cycle election results at the beginning of November.
Right, and we have a year now, and that will play out. I mean, this is all playing toward the midterms. But we have a couple other characters. Let's not forget, in this march of the utter incompetence, we have the Court of Appeals found that Alina Habba, remember our old friend Alina Habba, has been dinged. They said she was basically appointed to to her job as the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. The U.S. Attorney in New Jersey illegally. And so she's been pushed. The appeals court says she's not the U.S. Attorney, which means that anything she's done as the U.S. Attorney is essentially illegitimate. So now this will go to the Supreme Court, and that's another story. But we have a whole set of these people, these incompetents, who Trump has put into U.S. attorney slots around the country.
Lindsay Halligan.
Our other old friend, Lindsay Halligan, who also had the same thing. The court last week, was it? Yes.
Who knows? Last week.
Yes, found that she does not legitimately hold this job. And again, both in Alina Habba and Lindsay Halligan, and remember, these are the two women who somehow actually went to law school, but with scant legal careers, who then Trump recruited onto his legal staff. He met Alina Habba at his country club, a fixture.
Right?
Yes, his New Jersey country club. She was a fixture around the pool there. So he hired her as one of his personal attorneys. Lindsay Halligan, I think he met her at the golf club in Palm Beach, hired her, and then he would go around proudly saying to people during the campaign, I may not have the best legal team, but I have the hottest, and then show the pictures of Lindsay Halligan and Alina Habba heads together on his iPhone. So these are two women who have absolutely no qualifications and could not survive the normal process of being approved for these jobs.
Well, and just to go back to Miranda Devine's piece in the New York Post, she also singles out Dan Bongino, the number 2 to Kash Patel at the FBI, and says he's utterly incompetent too. And then there's an interesting anecdote where Dan Bongino has in fact had to call another member of the FBI who's been yelled at by Kash Patel in an expletive-laden tirade to apologize for Kash Patel. I don't think this looks good
Miranda
for either
Devine,
of them.
who's a columnist for the New York Post, which is it's a thing apart from all other columnists and journalists. I mean, she's a New York Post Murdoch apparatchik, but that would be, if she's writing this,
right.
This is coming from somewhere in the Trump administration, but also with the approval of the Murdoch organization. So this is
Is this a sign to Trump?
Yes, this is. And this is something you can read into this, that something is happening here, that there is internal Trump opposition that is expressing itself or trying to express itself.